Lazarus, episode 12, close to the edge. Now we are really getting to some dangerous territory because clock's ticking. So let's talk about it. Man, talk about getting down to the wire. This show has been freaking milking this. Like we constantly keep getting leads and then pulled back and leads and pulled back. But now it seems like we finally got some more concrete evidence as far as what direction we need to go. So Axel is being treated by Leland's doctor, and being alive is a miracle as expressed by her. So it's great to see he's getting good treatment. And again, this is the place where you go to get healed and you don't want to be found. So it's fantastic we have that. Elena awakens from her collapsing stunt. Um, and Popcorn introduces herself as Lynn, as a real name. So I'll be referring to her as Popcorn or Lynn throughout the entirety of this because I'm trying to get used to her name. But we find out that Doug is still alive and he's in some hospital somewhere under watch. All right. Hirsch is being held in the boardroom. She's been given food, and Abel is looking at info on Soryu, which is the Phantom Assassin. Abel ends up, getting dropped off by Elizabeth at the White House with a get well soon bouquet. Who is sick, I wonder? It's the White House. President, more than likely. We see Axel awaken with Chris by his side. And he calls her his angel because no one's ever really said he's been knocking on death's door a few times so that, but no one's ever saved him. So he thanks her, which is probably a real genuine thing for him. And as they talk about it, he informs that the person he gets informed that the person he's going to find that he's supposed to go find before the assassin interrupted was found dead. So his lead gone, him injured. So he probably feels a little bit like crap and trying to figure out, what to do next, but he's got to sit there and recover. While this is happening, Abel is visiting the president. Finds out she was bedridden because she had taken Hopna. And he proceeds to ask her for two favors. And she's like, I know this is why you'd be here. You're not going to be here if it's not for anything else. You need something. So what's up? While this is going on, Leland is back at base and he's talking to the cat. I told you I love this little crazy cat. But Elizabeth shows up from the NSA with Dr. 909, and he's here to help to reduce his prison sentence. So basically, he goes to the hacking rig and they start looking for information on the Phantom Assassin and trying to figure some stuff out to kind of get Abel as much information as he can. While this is going on, Elena and Lynn are exchanging stories, and we found out Lynn was from the Maldives, so she has the same analgesia, same thing where they don't feel pain. It's the same thing that everyone else has. So she was from the islands, and so when Skinner came in and did what he did to save them, buying the island and kind of sending them on the way to kind of do whatever they need to do with money. That's why she decided to help Skinner. She would do anything for him because he's saved their people. So makes sense. Cool. And she proved this by kicking her shin against freaking like her bed frame or something. But you know, she's there to help him, and that's why she was helping Skinner. Like that's point blank period. He saved us, I'm helping him. All right, cool. So it wasn't like anything malicious. It wasn't anything like somebody's trying to keep him to himself. It was literally I'm helping him because he helped us. Fantastic. While this is happening, Alex and Chris discuss the Hunden a little, and Axel talks about having no friends, and every time he's had friends, he always left before he gets attached. But he actually likes where he's at now. So that's kind of him opening up and kind of realizing like, he's been forced to be part of this more or less family, and he's actually enjoying it because he's never stayed around too long. So him being forced to stay there was probably actually a good thing for him, at least his character development. We get back to Abel, who's asking his favors of the president, which is to perform a raid on INSCOM, on the army base. That's something that doesn't happen without a presidential order. Like, as an executive order from the president is the only way that's going to happen. And because this might be her last official business as president, she agrees to do it because she took Hopna from the trials. So around the same time that Axel did. So when this happens, she's already sick. We see that Elena has got the fever and she's passing out, so she's having issues. We see that the president is bedridden, still conducting business as best she can, but she is bedridden. So she's probably not going to be around much longer either. Now, she grants him that favor and she asks him what's the other favor, and we kind of get that cut to black. And we see Elizabeth and 909 have tracked down HQ, but they haven't tracked down the assassin. While HQ was with Hayes and Schneider, that whole scene, that's the scene that they find. They start focusing on HQ, and they decide, okay, let's go after HQ and get what information we can off of him, because that should lead us to the assassin. Now, Hayes is back talking to Schneider, and he's upset because he has now detained Hirsch and kind of made this whole big whirlwind more than it needed to be. With it being more than it needed to be, we see that he's gonna just tell everything. He's like, I'm gonna put everything out there and let it be known, and it's gotta be dealt with. We see HQ call. When HQ calls, we see that HQ and the assassin are one and the same. He's got some kind of freaking split personality or whatever, but he has the same injuries. He's roughed up, so like that. But again, he's calling under his HQ persona, but it seems like he's having a break where he's kind of crossing between the two, because he's like, forget the contract. I'm going to take him out one way or another. So he's bouncing. So some kind of split personality or whatever the case may be. And that's where it cuts. So with that being said, Hayes is like, yo, I'm gonna tell you everything. I'm gonna tell everything. You're gonna be held accountable, Schneider, because you are doing whatever it is you're doing, and you're not talking with me about it. Like that's where, like, they were together on a lot of the stuff, but now it seems like Schneider's doing whatever is gonna benefit Schneider at this point. While this is happening, you see Schneider kind of staring off to the distance, and then a phone call comes through on Hayes' phone, and it's Abel. We cut back to Elena. Elena is actually getting to see Skinner's heart monitor because Lynn has access to it. And she reveals that Skinner gave her permission to share his location to anyone who tracked her down, and he is in Babylonia City. Here's the freaking kicker. He's in Babylonia City, and where he is in Babylonia City, he is at the freaking camp. Now, if y'all remember from my past videos, I can't remember which video it was in. It was like the second or third episode or something. I don't know. But I said that looks like Skinner in the background. Guy sitting there with like a hood on his head, white hair, that fits the bill. That's probably Skinner. I'm calling it right now. And sure enough, that's probably him, because they say he's there at that settlement camp. That's where his location is. So it's got to be Skinner. I'm very pleased about that because I caught him off rip. We could have saved us a whole mess of time. They would have just looked to the left and bam, there he is. But we see Chris get called in by Elizabeth to ID the assassin. So at that, and that's how we know that yes, that's him, one and the same. She identifies and says yes, that's him. And we see that Elizabeth says, like, yeah, apparently it looks like he has some type of dissociative identity disorder, which is a real thing. So that there are people that suffer from this condition. And what usually happens is one persona, you're like yourself, creates an alternate persona, and so that to protect themselves because it's something that they're having a hard time dealing with, whatever the case may be. So you've seen it in different movies and stuff like that. One of the best movies I've seen it was you see the movies Split. The character was done so well, and it's a trilogy. Don't ask me all the names of the movies right off the top of my head. Glass, Split, also, but it was a whole process where several characters were created to protect, one particular character, which is, the main person. And all these other ones are more or less characters that were created to protect that main person. So same thing. And that's why it looked like he was having a break and trying to figure out whatever's going on. So while freaking, Chris is able to do this ID, and I did miss something real quick. Before Chris left to go ID, so at that, her and Axel talked about regrets and asked if she had any regrets. She did not say anything. She thought for a second. She went over and she kissed him before she said goodbye and went to go ID him. So that was another good moment of character development because they're kind of he went and rescued her and it was a whole thing. They're having a moment. So it seems like there's a budding relationship, romance, or something that could possibly be there. But again, remains to be seen because everybody's on a ticking clock as far as if they're going to survive or not. We cut back to Hayes and Schneider, and we see that Schneider has killed Hayes with a sidearm. Don't know if it was his or if it was if it was Hayes, but immediately the guys come in and he's hanging up on Abel as the other soldiers come in, and he's like, yeah, he was about to commit treason, and I was about to expose him, and he tried to take me out, but I managed to take him out. And they're like, he's like, preserve the evidence, preserve the body, and everyone's like, yes, sir. And now I'm gonna be honest, coming from a military standpoint, and I'm looking at this, when you have leadership, especially within the military, so that you got a guy in a suit, he's a lieutenant, Don't get me wrong. He's referred to as lieutenant. He's a guy in a suit. And then you've got freaking Hayes, who's in the military gear, stuff like that. He's, the main one dealing with the troops. From everything that I've seen, the troops are the ones that follow him. But they real quick just said, "The heck with it," you know, whatever you say is law, Lieutenant. So with that, with my experience in the military, lieutenants, we love them, we do. So at that, but senior enlisted tends to take the cake as far as loyalty and leadership. But Hayes still being in uniform kind of lets me feel that he's more grounded with the troops and he's come to earn that respect. And, they're all still part of that chain of command. So with that, where the lieutenant seems like he really only deals with Hayes directly. But again, I'm projecting. I'm just curious as to, they just took the order so easily. Like, yep, whatever you say. So while that's going on, Chris arrived. Chris had, already arrived and deduced that, who the person was. Doug's guards go to eliminate him, but they only find pillows, and the NSA raid is underway. So Abel shows up. He confronts Schneider and says, "We're coming in." Schneider is sitting there trying to stall the entire time, and it's like, "We don't know what you're talking about." Blah blah blah. Freaking, we're not going to let you in. So it's a standoff at this point. While it's a standoff, so that and we see that Popcorn Wizard is going to try and get the team to Skinner. So basically ends up rushing them to the hypercube station because Doug already has special permissions to use that thing. So they got to get Doug. Doug is on a automated cart, like a gurney, and they basically remote control operate this thing to get him out of the hospital before he gets taken out by the guards and get him all the way outside to Popcorn Wizard so they can hop in her van and get to the hypercube station to get back to Skinner. I was like, yeah, makes sense, because you got to remember the oil rig, a lot of that stuff was automated, and Elena was able to hack in and utilize the oil rig for stuff. So in this society, of course, a lot of things are automated, so it just makes a lot of sense to automate dang near everything that wouldn't require, that requires less human beings to interact with them. So it's great. So got him out of there. Popcorn Wizard passes off a line to Elena, so they have a direct line of communication if they ever need anything, because they may or may not see each other again, but they're like bestest friends forever now. So it's great for them, and we got to kind of see how the next episode goes. But the setup for that is Axel gets a text message and says, "See you where the angel watches." He's asleep in his bed, and that comes on his phone, and we see that, and we get the flash of 1 day left. This is where it's getting good. 1 day left. Stuff's going down. I can't wait to see it. Make sure you hit the Lazarus subscribe button so we can find out what's going to happen with this series. How is it going to end? 1 day left. Is it 13 episodes? We're going to stretch it out for more. This is one-off series. What's the deal? I got to know. I'm excited. Until then, I will catch you guys in the next one. Later.